I used to smoke weed all of the time. I worked in the cannabis industry, I was around it constantly, and I didn't really see a problem with it for the longest bit. But quitting completely changed my life, and I really didn't expect it to the way that it did. Now, starting probably when I was about 14 or 15 years old was really when I can remember smoking weed for the first time ever. And this isn't going to come from someone that just hasn't done any of this stuff. I'm actually a pretty experienced person when it comes to this sort of thing. I've been in the industry for over 4 years now, and every part you could possibly name from, you know, being a cannabis salesperson, from being in the industry as like a grower or a technician inside of a facility of that such, as far as like packaging and being able to extract this stuff. So I have at least a bit of an idea of what I'm talking about when it comes to this sort of like material. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's all bad. I don't think it's all bad. I'm not going to pretend that it is. There is a good side to it. I mean, for me, when I was younger, it really did help me with relaxing, escaping stress, and slowing things down because just like every other person, growing up is scary. Things happen. You miss out on so many relationships with friends, family, just thinking about the constant positives and negatives that you've got going on in your own life. And that's not something that ever stops or fades away. In fact, it feels like it increases the more that we grow up, especially in the time that we're in now in 2026. The world just seems to get crazier and crazier. And that's why a lot of people use it. What started going wrong for me, though, was over time, I started realizing that I was getting less motivation, brain fog, wasting time without even realizing it, so many different things. I would put off hanging out with friends so that I could just sit at my apartment and get high and forget about the day. I constantly felt like I was just working, smoking, sleeping, and repeat. Things got really narrow and bland for me really fast. And I've been using it for over 10 years. I'm 25 now. Things have changed. I really do see it as a not necessarily grow up thing, but sort of a grow out thing. Maybe I need to look at the world in a different perspective. Things have gone in a completely different route for me. The main reason why I started changing my habits was not only because of my health, but because of clarity. I was looking for a real reason to get out of the shit that I was tired of dealing with. Constantly feeling tired and aching, even though I smoked to try to get rid of that same thing, it wasn't really helping me. And I was tired of being okay with doing less with my life. I've always felt the need that I had a bigger purpose when it comes to just being alive and existing today. And I didn't notice it while it was happening, but now I do. And while I was working in the industry, a lot of things changed how I saw it. I didn't just see it as this mental clarity fog that I just needed to get away from, or some sort of habit that I could constantly pick up and, you know, pass the day along with. It was a real reluctancy to realize that I wasn't the only person in it. I hear it all the time while I'm still working in the industry. Man, I wish I could just quit this stuff. And from my perspective, it's as easy as just saying, well, then do it. I did it. And people give me the weirdest looks, and the most jaw dropping things happen whenever it comes to telling someone that's smoked it for, some of these guys and girls are like 30, 40, 50 years old. And sometimes they're like, I've been smoking it longer than you've been alive. And I'm like, well, that's good for you, I guess. I've kind of made a different change. I've went a different path in my life rather than sticking to that. And maybe I'm weird. Maybe I just grew up different. But that's just something that I've really enjoyed doing, was changing my motives and changing my ways. That doesn't necessarily mean something bad is happening or something's wrong with me. Maybe it just means that I'm not the same as everyone else. And I'm not going to act like I'm some sort of one trick pony person that's no one can be like me and I'm different, but a lot of people see me as weird. I've grown up being the weird kid. I never really had a bunch of friends. You know, the only two friends that I had growing up when I was in high school didn't even really hang out with me after we were really growing up. We both, and all three, had different things going on in our lives. One of them moved away, the other one found different passions in life, and we all just kind of separated. I remember sitting at the lunch table by myself all of the time, junior and senior year, and seeing the same people that I've hung out with throughout most of my high school just kind of notice me and not say anything. I always found it something weird, but then again, Maybe they saw me as that kid that just was always high and didn't give anything about life. That's kind of the problem that I see with marijuana today, or at least when it comes to me. It gave me this idea of, I thought I was just losing my anxieties, but really I was just gaining carelessness. I stopped caring about the things that mattered to me. I stopped caring about life. I stopped caring about my mentality and the way that people saw me. And sure, some people can say that's a good thing, but I don't think it is. At least not for me. I wanted to care. I just didn't know how to put it forward and actually do it. And with today's world, the products are scary strong. The things that they're doing to them are insane. It can make you sit on the couch and literally just melt into it sometimes. I have so many stories of people coming into the place that I work and telling me how they took so much of an amount of, edibles, and they just sat there on their couch for 10 to 12 hours and thought that they were just in a purgatory. I understand how that can sound fun to some, but I find that scary. Some people just find it okay to, forget that they exist and not take care of themselves. When I quit, I started going to the gym, getting a lot bigger. I've always been a scrawny, super tiny kid, lanky as hell, and never really not like being happy with my body. Well, after I quit, I started realizing maybe it is a problem that I need to fix. I started going to the gym, constantly eating proteins up to the same equal parts of mass to grams. I started looking up so many different videos and getting an actual knowledge based on the things that I needed to understand so that I could gain weight. I went from weighing like 110 to 120 pounds up to like 150, 160 in a short span of 6 months. To me, that's a huge success. Growing up, barely being able to break 120 was something that was normal to me. And smoking weed definitely had an impact on that. Not only did it build a laziness in my mind, it also built a terrible appetite. I am so proud of myself for not having to wake up and feel like I'm just never hungry or never having an appetite. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that. Whenever you smoke weed, not only do you not get REM sleep where you're getting rapid eye movements so that you're fully dreaming and fully gaining rest and your body's, regenerating its ability to go about the next day, but you're also not digesting your food properly. You're not building a habitual, rapid way of taking care of your body, like waking up and eating a meal or drinking enough water, especially that. So many times I've heard people talk to me and tell me how many issues they've had with feeling sick and getting stomach issues. And one of the biggest things I can give advice for that is drink water. Staying hydrated is one of the biggest things that is going to change your way of going about every day. When I stopped smoking weed, things didn't magically fix overnight. But slowly, my focus came back. I had more energy, I started thinking clearer, and I actually wanted to improve my life. And that was the biggest difference. And I didn't just stop smoking on a random whim. I started seeing so many of those issues piling up on top of each other, and I saw that as one of the only things I could actually change that might have had a different motive so that I could force myself into thinking and doing different ways with my life. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it wasn't just about quitting. It was about taking control, building discipline, and actually working towards something better. When I started quitting, I realized not only was this helping my health, it was helping my bank account. I saved so much money. I'm not going to brag and act like I'm a millionaire now because of it, but I guarantee if you stop spending your last $20 on weed, you can probably start spending at least half of that, $10, in investing in yourself, like buying a book, or maybe investing in a portfolio stock account so that you can start building wealth. And it's not just about building money. There's a huge message that I can give you guys. And it's, if you don't want to listen to me, listen to the accounts of so many other people that have actually grown up around this stuff. Not everybody's using it. So many people are seeing the problems with this, and it's not just me. I feel like a mass awakening is starting to happen where people are realizing that everything we've been doing, shutting down our bodies, turning things off that we're supposed to feel, isn't helping. It's suppression. It's a way that we can be in control from another thing. Just like how alcohol was, So many different things can be so horribly used against us so that we can simply be couch potatoes. We're not supposed to be going outside anymore since COVID. Everything's changed. People are seeing the world as seclusive and not inclusive. We're pushing people away. We're pushing different lifestyles out. And we're focusing solely on ourselves, and not in a good way. This is especially something I noticed after stopping. People look at me like I'm crazy because I stopped using a literal drug because I'm not one of the masses. And maybe that's a good thing. This is simply what happened to me. I don't see it as a bad thing. I can see it be useful in so many different aspects, like people that have seizures, people that do need to use it for pains and aches and ailments, but it can boost the levels of anxiety that you have. It doesn't always fix them. I started realizing my anxiety and depression levels were seemingly going down after quitting, and that's a huge thing. I've always dealt with these problems growing up. I've had to see therapists on several different accounts and never understanding what was wrong with me. I've been diagnosed with different things and never actually understood why I was getting put on so many different levels of pills and medicines that didn't seem to help. I thought that it was the weed that was going to help me, so I kept smoking. Soon I realized, years later down the line, that that might have been part of the problem, and it actually was. Quitting it made me feel so much more alive, so much more capable of doing things, and less like I was just going to sit and rot away, doom scrolling my life so that I can just move on to the next day and do it all over again. I'm really glad that it changed me. It's a huge industry too, and I'm not saying that it's evil, but it is making a damn lot of money, and I didn't realize how that affected me until I stepped back. I helped the company that I work for make over $250,000 in sales just by selling this stuff. And what do I have to show for it? An addiction that I had trouble getting away from until now. I can even track it back to how much money I've spent in this industry. And trust me, once you've pushed over $10,000 in just 2 to 3 years, it starts to feel like you are wasting your money on the dumbest things. I went from spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on things that actually were just, temporary highs for me to be able to get through into the next day, into putting actual money into stocks and cryptocurrencies that are going to pay out 10 to 100 to 500, maybe even 1,000x what their value is right now. Instead of it just being some temporary high, it's long-term wealth that I plan on spending for my future self in a way that I will be able to literally gratify every ounce of effort and discipline I put into it from today until that point on. I'm not just saying this just because you guys should be like me, but I'm saying it because you really should think about your future self. Because you're the only person that you can actually take care of when it comes down to who am I and what am I going to do for me. You're not going to do anything good by sitting on the couch and not even trying, just thinking in a fog and thinking of munchies and what else you have left in your fridge that you can mow down. And I understand that might seem like the fun thing to do right now, but later on when your health starts to catch up, or whenever you just start feeling like you've missed out on life, you're really going to regret those decisions. Trust me, I have. But hey, that's what we're here for. We live and we die by the decisions that we make, and we live and we learn by those too. If you're trying to make that same decision of bettering your life and you feel like you're stuck, maybe give it a shot. Maybe just try it a month, a week. See how you feel. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Not everybody's the same. Like I said, lots of people can see this differently and lots of people can see me as just a hater, but I don't really care at the end of the day. I'm here to just give you what I've dealt with and how my opinion is with, something that I'm experienced in. And if it can help someone else out, then hey, kudos to me and kudos to them. I really do hope that at least one person can get a good takeaway with this bettering them and getting a better, clear understanding as should I quit or should I just keep doing with the same habit? Because that's an answer that only you can find. And maybe if a third party or someone like me can actually put something into your head of, hey, maybe it is a good idea, then I really do hope it does better your life in so many different ways, and countless opportunities come your direction. I noticed I wasn't taking care of myself, and maybe it can help someone else take care of themselves whenever they do quit. I'm not going to sit here and bash on it. I mean, I think some of my greatest friends still use it today, and I find them hilariously funny. They can take care of themselves too. These are just my own accounts. Not everybody's the same either. And if it can help you with focusing and relaxing, that's awesome. Maybe that's what you're meant to be using it for. But I'm just saying it from my account. I had a problem and I abused it. And a lot of people are normalizing that today. And I just want you to understand that. And if you're new here, this is BC Strats. I'm documenting how I'm improving my life and my habits and my money step by step. So if you're looking to do the same, go ahead and leave that like, subscribe, and go ahead and comment down below what your reason of quitting weed or maybe what your thoughts on it would be.